Hello and welcome to the Monthly Marquee. I'm your host, Bart Lovins, Director for the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center, and our first guest is Miss Carrie Lewis with the Hardin County Playhouse. You know, one of the things, Carrie, that I was doing an interview yesterday, and it just seems like the more things change, the more they stay the same in the situation that we find ourselves right now. Speaking of which, where are you guys at the Hardin County Playhouse at this point in time?
Fluid. Yeah. Right now, you know, we should be in rehearsal and ready to open with our season opener. We are not. The mandates and the, you know, all the things that are going on in the state right now, in the country right now, have kind of put us on hold. We're not really sure when that's going to change. It would be difficult to perform in a mask, and it would be difficult to perform a lot of things at a 6 feet distance. And it would be difficult to perform for no groups larger than 10, which might go to 50, which might go back down to 10. So, you know, it's just really hard to plan at this point. There are a lot of options out there, but we are so late in the game, you know, to try and secure rights and, you know, have rehearsals and auditions and all the things that go with putting on a performance. You know, we're just kind of treading water and saying it's intermission, you know.
Well, and for people who may not really understand, who aren't in the business, just share some of the obstacles that we're facing as performing arts organizations with the mandates.
Well, you know, live performances, you know, with a mask on, it's going to change everything. Number one, it's going to be hard to hear, and it's going to be hard to get the facial expressions. It's just really hard to have the interaction when you're at that kind of a distance and with your face covered, and you're not going to get the same audience reaction, I don't think, because it's almost like a barrier. And you see that kind of socially anyway, just walking through the grocery store. People that used to stop and talk and chat and stuff now are kind of like taking the long way around, not really making eye contact. It has definitely made an impact, and I think the biggest impact that I see is that we do need live performances. We need music. We need theater now probably more than ever, but we just can't. And also, you know, when you're securing rights for a play, they usually base the price that you pay on the occupancy, on the seating that you have. Well, if you have a seating capacity of 145, you have set price. But if you're only allowed 25% occupancy, do they reduce that or not? Well, nobody's been here before, so everybody's learning a brand new game on this, and nobody's in a position to lose any money.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not sure what the answers are. If we can just wait it out and hold on, you know, and try and do the best we can.
There's also a lot of research right now that is still in process about the particles that we all, awful word, that we all spew whenever we speak or sneeze or cough. And there's research going on right now about how that changes if you are singing or playing a musical instrument or speaking loudly to be heard in front of an audience.
Exactly.
With some indications being that the distance that those particles move is longer than in a normal conversation.
Right.
So, you know, social distancing may be on stage instead of 6 feet apart, could be 10 feet apart.
Right.
And then you also have restrictions. It's everything is so piecemeal.
Right.
We have state restrictions. We have the federal restrictions. We have CDC guidelines. We have state. From the governor, and then we also have wherever we're operating from. For you have to follow ECTC's guidelines and whatever they determine they're going to do. Likewise, I have to follow Hardin County Schools guidelines.
Right.
For me, one of the things that I'm wrestling with and trying to get an answer for that I can't yet because nobody's sure is, for example, if I can socially distance my audience. Well, it's the difference between required and recommended.
Right.
So if I have an audience come in, is taking a temperature for each audience member required, or is it recommended? Is a mask required? Right now it is from the governor, or is it recommended? And those things keep waffling,
Right.
and how they're enforced is not very regulated. So it's a very confusing time. And the last thing we want is for someone to get sick.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have, just even the process of, if you are going to take people's temperatures, if you are going to require a mask, are you going to give out masks? So there's another expense. And who's going to take their temperatures? And what do you do if somebody does have a temperature? How are you going to handle that? Because there's just, if it's a whole entire family, and a lot of people right now don't really have the entertainment money.
Just that, yes.
There is so many different, every possible perspective and angle on this is just really difficult right now.
And continues to change.
Yes.
Well, the one thing that is definite is that you guys have plans for a new facility.
Yes.
And if you can't come to ECTC to see Hardin County Playhouse, we would really like people to help you find a new home.
Right.
Where you would have probably one less set of guidelines to follow.
Exactly.
And how can people help you with that?
Oh, please just donate whatever you feel led to do in your heart. We're located on the web, hardincountyplayhouse.com. It has all of our contact information and where you can mail your donations. They are tax deductible. We are nonprofit. We have a long ways to go on our fundraising. Everything has pretty much stopped because you can't go talk to people if they're closed or if you have to socially distance. And people are not thinking about the importance of theater right now. They're thinking about surviving in their own lives, in their own businesses, in their own vocations and stuff. So, everybody's got a whole set of problems. I would love to see us have our own structure. I think it would be good for the community. I think it would be wonderful for the people who want to be involved in theater. It can be such a life-changing experience. Like we were talking about, the people that work on a project together, they go through this long period, this rehearsal period of 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer, and they come in as strangers and very diverse groups of people from different backgrounds and areas and beliefs and everything else. And by the time you're there at showtime, it is the most unifying moment. And unless you've been a part of that, I really feel the lack of it in my own life. It's very
therapy.
Yes, it is very stifling not to be able to do that and not to be able to interact with people, and it makes you feel very much isolated. I would feel isolated anyway, just the way things are. But when you take in the theater concept and the family of theater concept, it is even more so isolating. So, I do believe in the mission of theater. I think it's a wonderful thing for everyone. And I would like to see something happen so that next year we could maybe start thinking about breaking ground. I think that would be, I know it sounds far-fetched. I know it sounds impossible, but I have seen the magic of theater so many times. And even though I have seen things that looked impossible, I have seen the last night of tech fall apart, and you just wonder, how are we going to get through it? And magically, somehow it comes together. And I think when people come together for a common good purpose and put aside their differences, I think only good things can happen.
Thank you, Carrie. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I feel like we're figuring out a lot of things together right now.
And after 4 o'clock today with the governor's information about schools, we'll find out a little bit more about how the next couple months is going to look.
Well, and that's one of the big things since the last time I saw you. You have Rugrats.
I do. I have 2 littles. I have Isaiah and Shayla. Isaiah is 5, and Shayla just celebrated her 7th birthday on June 15th. So
that's not possible.
7-year-old. I know, it's crazy. I'm mom, and also I got married last year.
I did hear that.
Yes, so I'm now Alisha Campbell, and I married the Reverend Alexander S. Campbell, and so it is a good life for me. It's a good life.
It's great to hear.
Yes.
We I think it's incredibly good for me to hear that your life is good and that things are on an even keel. Particularly, there's so much turmoil right now.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you and kind of get your perspective. I have a perspective, on
Yeah.
the protests and everything, but I'm also in a process right now of listening. And
Okay.
and I wanted to reach out to you and listen to your perspective on what's happening right now.
Okay. Well, so my first perspective, I would of course say, is being a Black woman, being raised in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. It was a good upbringing. I had a good life. There were some racist incidents that I encountered, even in school, in life in general. It was hard for certain things for me. I would say that I feel like with the way that my life has gone, that I thank God that I have not experienced things as worse as others. I have experienced some situations, like I put a post on Facebook about my professional life. Being Black has been a struggle. And sometimes it's hard because either people don't want to see it, or they want to ignore the issue, or they just don't want to bring it up. And I've kind of been a champion for change in the places that I've worked, especially for Black people, Hispanic people, but basically people of color, anyone that, you know what I mean, is of that minority.
Sure.
Because I want them to know that, you know, just because the color of our skin is different, you know, we're all the same. And so one thing I will say is I appreciate you, you know, for wanting to listen, because it doesn't mean just because someone tells you, hey, I want to listen, it doesn't mean that you have any form of a racist bone in your body. It just means that you're like, hey, you know what? I didn't realize that this was going on to this magnitude. And, you know, one thing I will say is theater was my safe place. And I say that because in theater, thankfully, there have been people that looked like me. Now, they might not have played prominent roles all the time, but when I was starting to come up, we had The Color Purple. We had different plays that were starting to come out on stage, you know, that people were like, oh my gosh, they have a Black lead, you know, and to be honest, I will say it was pretty cool for me, because even in performing arts at the Youth Performing Arts Center, I got to do something that not many people could do, which was play a lead as a Black person with no problem, you know, and being encouraged to try out for that role, even though, yes, I was nervous. I remember when the very first time I tried out, I was nervous because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get this, because there were so many other talented people, but you all poured into me something that I didn't get everywhere, was that it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. We don't care. You know what I mean? If the lead of this play is a Caucasian female, we want you.
The best person for the role is the best person for the role.
Without regards to your race, you can be perfect for this role. And I remember hearing that when we were in the summer camp. It doesn't matter what color you are. I want to see the person that's inside of you come out for this role. So, I mean, that's one thing I say thank you and kudos to you guys for that, because you made theater wonderful for everyone without having to worry about that. But yeah, you know, I think the best thing that people can take from this going forward is that it might be, I would say that a lot of times, I'm just saying this in regards to like a theater perspective, you know, a lot of times I would say that Black individuals don't try out, you know what I mean, for roles because they're scared. A lot of times, especially for me when I was younger and I was starting to get into music, I was told that your voice is cute, it's nice, but you don't look like this person. You know what I mean? You don't sound like this person. You don't exude the same thing that this person exudes. And I was like, well, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, I'm singing the song, you know, word for word, verbatim. What do you mean? But it was that stumbling block of, I don't look like Elsa, so I can't sing Elsa's songs.
Well,
You know what I
and
mean?
I know, and again, all I can speak of is from my own
Yeah.
perspective. I have always been the shortest man at an audition,
Yes.
and I have this funny voice that is a cross between Kermit the Frog and Mickey Mouse with a head cold. And so, I have never looked or sounded like the
Yeah.
other guys
The
in the room.
typical mold.
And those things that make you different are also the things that make you special.
Yes.
And that's something that I think is that's the kind of confidence that I hope that we're able to instill in some of our students,
And I truly do think that you all do a phenomenal job of that. I mean, you all make it so easy, especially, I would say, for me, it's been 10 years.
I was going
And
to ask. Yeah, okay.
yes, it's been, I think we're going on 11 because it was 2009. It was my senior year in the summer, the summer in my junior and senior year. And so it's been about 10, 11 years now. And, but still, it was so easy to just drop in and do the summer camps. And it was a welcoming environment, and
Right.
just to be in there, especially when I'm in there with kids who they've been doing this,
Well,
for 10, 12 years.
You came to us late.
Yeah. But, and honestly, it was because I just didn't have the confidence in myself to really feel like I could do this, and finally I was sitting there and I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I only have but like a year left in high school. And I've always wanted to do what they do on stage. I have always wanted to just get out there and just do what I can do. And so I was just like, I saw the auditions and I told my mom about it because I remember I found out about it, and it was like a week before the audition, and my mom was like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I guess I'm just going to go and try, Not much I can do, but just go try. And I remember being in there and reading the script and hearing the notes on the piano and you all saying, okay, I need everybody to sing. And I remember just opening my mouth and I just sang. And I remember everyone going, so would you like to audition for other roles too?
Right.
Like, is this the only role you want to audition for? And I was like, I mean, I'll audition for anything, and it took off from there.
Where do with two children and
Yes.
in the occupation that your husband is in, where did the arts fit into your life now as a mom and a wife? I would suspect that you're very involved at your church.
Yes, the arts fit in my life, just in my everyday. So, of course, in church, I still sing. I sing on the praise team, and I sang in the choir. Of course, pre-COVID, there was so much that I did with music, and right now I'm just at a little bit of a standstill. But I
Aren't we
promise
all?
you, I can't I can't wait to get back into that element.
Thank you so much, hon. I really appreciate your time. It's so good to see you.
You're welcome. Anytime, my mind. It's so.
Hello. Safely social distancing with our representative from the Elizabethtown Performing Arts Center. Please welcome Miss Carmen Caldera-Bratska. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
As good as can be expected.
Yes.
We are both coming from unique places. I am in my I don't even know what to call this anymore. The Muppet Museum of my home, and you're actually in your theater today, which is really fun and nice.
Yes. Home sweet home.
Second home, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what's keeping you busy these days, Carmen?
Well, getting ready for the beginning of the new school year. We are 3 weeks out and trying to figure out, we are starting in the Elizabethtown School District with the first 3 weeks online and then student choice after that. But clubs and such are pretty much going to be different, we know. And with theater still being one of those things that we can't safely do together, especially in groups as large as the drama clubs are, those would be online. So trying to get all of that set up and be able to get that information out to our parents at our virtual open houses that's kind of the priority right now.
Do you have any idea what your first semester is going to feel or look like there at the E-Town Performing Arts Center? Because I don't.
Right. Well, I don't, but I think the priority is going to be letting students get acclimated to whatever they are doing, because in the classrooms first, because we know that while we are starting virtually, we will have students in the building, because we have a hardship category that they can actually come be in the building if they don't have Wi-Fi, or if they don't have someone to be with them during the day because parents are working. So we will have some students in the building. So whatever school is going to look like for those students, I think the priority is for them to get comfortable with that before we add on drama club and theater guild and those things. But we're going to be using the same technology as far as Google Classroom and Google Meets. So I think once they have acclimated or reacclimated, since they did that at the end of last year, I think from there it should be a smooth transition into doing a club the same way.
And Hardin County Schools is opening under slightly different parameters. And we even have slightly different parameters between what the elementary middle school are doing, what the high school are doing.
Right.
I am anticipating and have been coordinating with the John Hardin High School principal to use the Performing Arts Center during the day as basically a large lecture hall. We can seat up to 175 with social distancing. I think it would be really advantageous to use it for choral and band programs, which we know those are a lot of students crammed into a small space usually. So to be able to literally breathe, it would be helpful. And we might even be used for level 1 English or algebra, geography, some of those classes that are that every student has to take. But if you can only fit 15 students in a classroom at a time, it could be advantageous for them to put 175 in the pack to learn that as well. We have microphones and we have other things that we're doing as far as social distancing that are in place, cleaning and otherwise. But I think that's one of the things that we'll be doing. We're really anxious to get our senior pack aides in the space, but that might not be until second semester.
Right. Everything is going to look different. I was happy to hear that in the city of Elizabethtown, they're going to be adding some hotspots at Freeman Lake and Pritchard Community Center and the American Legion Nature Park, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there will be wonderful ways for students to get online as well if they choose that, or if they're, our drama club will be online after school hours, just like it would be if we were in school.
And Carmen, how can people get a hold of you to learn more or to ask questions or find out how they can get more involved?
Well, our Facebook page, Elizabethtown Performing Arts Center. We also have an Instagram, but for messaging purposes and all of that, Facebook is the easiest way. We will also be part of the TK Stone virtual open house, which will be happening later this month. And they will be getting an email from the district letting them know information on how all of the open houses in the Elizabethtown Independent School District are going to work.
Great. Thank you very much for making time for me today. Look forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Thank you. You too.
'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So time, 'cause I'm moving on the groove. 'Cause you got to love it, yeah. So time, 'cause I'm moving on the groove.
Hey, have you ever heard the phrase kicking the can down the road? When is the pack going to announce their next season? We ask ourselves that very question daily. And because every day begins with a different answer, we've erred on the side of caution and not sharing our plans publicly. Now, that might sound like we're just kicking the can down the road, Oh, but that is far from the case. I can't tell you everything we've got planned just yet, but I can share some insights with you. The Pro-Am musical is on hiatus. With the virus still prevalent and pandemic recommendations firmly ensconced, for the safety of our performers and our patrons, the annual September musical will not happen this season. Auditions are postponed. With no musical on the horizon, there was no need to rush into auditions this summer. Instead, auditions for this year's Sherlock play will take place later this fall. No brochure. Everyone on our mailing list will be receiving an individual flyer about each planned season event. Doing so will help us reduce marketing expenses and give us more flexibility to roll with any pandemic punches that occur. Staggered ticket sales. Speaking of flexibility, to serve you better during these unpredictable times, tickets for each season event will go on sale 1 month prior to each performance, instead of all at once in August like we usually do. Experience the pack in our theater, your household, and your school. This is the biggest change. Since we can currently only serve an audience of 175 safely within our theater, we are really excited to launch our Pack to Go streaming service this fall, so that our audiences can enjoy the Pack season events from the comfort of their couches and their classrooms. In November, we'll present It's a Wonderful Life. This live radio show will be performed on our stage as a fundraiser before an intimate audience of 175, and then be shared with the entire community through various media outlets. Plans are still firmly in place for the Nutcracker to grace our stage as it has every December. But should we be unable to do so due to social distancing, we have an understudy event waiting in the wings. With any luck this spring, Sherlock will return in 2021 with The Hound of the Baskervilles, followed by Kentucky Shakespeare and Missoula Children's Theater. As you can tell, we're not really kicking the can down the road so much as we're kicking everything up a notch. Well, folks, that is going to wrap it up for another monthly Marquee. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next month, and until then, I'm Bart Lovins with the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center, and we hope to see you back at the Pack really soon.